Africa, 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 Africa.
First place, birthplace, ancient of Mexum, continental drifted, now she dwell in the western. Rise to the east, dip my feet in the new now. Our mounds of pyramids, what you gon' do now? The sleeping haven't risen, know the world odds by birthright. Aboriginal citadel, noble Jew had the insight. Pre-Adamic Cushites, mirror what gods look like. I self-law and master it, free national mavericks.
Check the east before you take a step, bow before the oracle. Spirit speaking plain tongue, but the lessons are allegorical. Sarcophago retreat what they said was only historical. Buried ancestral wisdom will elevate you and forward you. Waters are so primordial, birth and royal imperials populated the planet with melanin individuals. Warrior bloodline passed through the DNA. Black power, black freedom, my BB Fahodie.
Flow, Marcus Mosiah said, for Africans home and abroad, we Garveyites in the turf fight, land grab, gentrify, pimp the people and resources. We taking it back, let's join forces. Yeah. The animals, minerals, rainforest, rich soil, the fertile ground, that blue, black, and that brown, Cape Town to A-Town, all parts in between, nigga, how that sound?
Red, black, green, one goal, one aim, one dream, one people, one oppressor, one team, a jackal, no matter which way did he lean, chamber bang, muzzle flashes out, freedom should ring, one force, one black star, powered by steam, Africa for Africans, garbage dream, yes we can, from niggas to gods, we not getting even, we eliminating odds.
My slang boom bangs like African drums, all around the world and back to the slums. My juju strong, my ashe is evident. How can you not say I'm heaven sent? In the name of Nyame, Oludumare, I set my sword free, repping the heavenly body, remaining godly, get high off the vibes low. I'm Ekendayo from birth, my old earth told me of my heritage and what it was worth being first. Africa, 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 Africa.
Revolution, you've reached. Leave a message and we'll get back to you. Hands off Asada, free all political prisoners, and fuck the police.
On the move, this is Pamela Africa, Minister of Confrontation for the MOVE organization and coordinator of the Uncompromising Family and Friends of Mumia Abu Jamal. I'm here to join out with the call of fuck the police and fuck their motherfucking corporate sponsors. The police ain't nothing but pawns, motherfuckers that's fucking over our air, fucking over our water, fucking over our soil, that which we all need to survive. Come on, let's join in on a fight to expose police and the corporate motherfuckers that's in there. On the move, long live revolution, and down with this rotten ass system.
What's happening, good people? We are live and direct. Love, peace, and soul, good people. I want to welcome you to Afropiq Radio, the home of sucker-free politics, culture, news, and social commentary, broadcasting right here on Black Power Media Network. I'm your host, your soul brother number one, Kalonji Changa, and we're coming to you live with a critical broadcast today. This is our inaugural show, by the way, Afropiq. Folks are familiar with Afropiq magazine, and we are now bringing to you for the first time ever, Afropiq Radio. And we are delighted because it means that Black Power Media is expanding. Today, we have a real crucial show. We have a lot of our brothers and sisters who are, you know, in a frenzy right now because of this whole voter registration act. And so we're going to get down on it, as Cool in the Gang would say. This is a conversation that strikes at the heart of our community struggle for liberation and self-determination. And so to help us unpack this situation, we brought a few of my favorite people on, a couple of our favorite people, to talk about what this means to Black people, what it means to this country, and sort of where do we go from here. First guest is no stranger to the airwaves. In fact, you can catch him right here on Black Power Media. Him and his lovely wife, Inez Barron. We have our brother Charles Barron, who they host the show, Operation Power. And you can catch that right here on Black Power Media, 7 p.m. EST on Thursday nights. Of course, our brother Charles Barron is a freedom fighter first, and he's also a politician who has much skin in the game up in the New York area. You know, we're going to allow him to give you a little bit more depth to his bio. And we also have Dr. Deborah Jackson, who is a veteran in our People's Liberation Movement as well. In fact, she was also mayor of Lithonia, Georgia, probably one of the blackest cities, if not the blackest city in Georgia. And she did great work out there. And she's also a former executive director of the National Coalition of Black Lawyers. Welcome to the platform, Brother Charles and Sister Deborah.
Well, it's an honor to be on, and honor to be on with Dr. Deborah Jackson. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Looking forward to our conversation today. It's very important times that we're in.
Indeed, indeed. Before we hop into it, because of the fact that, you know, a lot of times, you know, I have folks that, you know, it's no secret, you know, for me, I haven't been pro-electoral politics like many of our people, you know, for obvious reasons. Of course, there are a few exceptions to the rule. You know, of course, we support folks like, you know, Cynthia McKinney, and of course, the two of you, which is, you know, it's a handful of folks. But if you all don't mind, starting with you, Sister Deborah, since it's your first time coming on Black Power Media, if you don't mind giving folks a brief bio and history as to your work in electoral politics, and also, you know, some of what you're doing now.
All right. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I would say, well, I started my legal and professional career working for legal services in North Mississippi back in 1977. And so at that time, it was like when I went to Mississippi from New York, it was like the civil rights movement had not happened at all. And so the position I had really was to provide an opportunity of looking at how do you use the law to bring about reform. And so that was the concept behind the position I had, using the law as a tool for reform. And at that point, well, I guess nowadays they would call that movement lawyering work. So from Mississippi, I moved back to New York and New Jersey area, where I was involved with the National Conference of Black Lawyers. And then in 2000, I decided to return back south and came to Georgia. You know, so after having a variety of experiences, you know, attempting to use the law to bring about change, an opportunity presented itself in terms of, well, rather than being on the outside challenging policies that other people are implementing, what about being on the inside and actually designing and developing the policies you wanted to see to promote the interests of the community? And that was what attracted me to initially become a member of the Lithonia City Council and subsequently the mayor.
Right on, right on. We definitely appreciate that layout. Brother Charles, if you could, you know, give folks a brief bio as well.
Well, we call ourselves, according to Brother Paul Muhammad of the Nation of Islam, we don't consider ourselves politicians. We consider ourselves pantheristicians, because it was in the Black Panther Party where I learned most of my ideological development came from. And I want to read two quotes real quick from a book, How to Beat the Machine, an article I've written. One is by Omali Yeshitela. He said, the electoral process is an arm of the state for the purpose of maintaining control and dominance of African people. The electoral system, when it was created here, was not created for our participation. We used the system that they created for themselves to expose their contradictions and to mobilize our people. What we are doing is creating a crisis by intervening. And then I have a quote that says, we must organize and mobilize our people to beat the Democratic Party machine that controls all of the local political seats of power through its elected Black neo-colonial sycophant puppet politicians in our beloved Black communities. We must not concede any arena of struggle for power to our oppressor. It is time for liberation politics, no more plantation politics. What thrust us into the electoral arena is the question of power. Power, we can call these brothers and sisters in the electoral arena that sell us out. You can call them all the Negroes you want, or all the sell out this, sell out that. They had power by being part of the Democratic club in our districts, therefore determined what was going to be built in our districts. They allowed gentrification, what schools were going to be open and shut down. So we in Brooklyn, East New York section of Brooklyn, we said, let's follow the path of some of the elected revolutionaries around the world, that you have to deal with state power. People who say they're not into politics or into electoral arena, it's into you, whether you like it or not, because every decision in our community is an electoral decision that has power behind it. So we decided to take out the sellout Negro puppeteers of the Democratic Party in East New York, and we were able to win the city council seat, the state assembly seat. We won the community board. We won the district leaders, male and female. We won the county committee and the judicial delegates. So we wiped out the Democratic Party club in our district. And by doing that, we were able to get a bill passed in the state assembly on reparations. We were able to get 3 political prisoners freed, along with the Jericho movement, Jalil Montecalm, Herman Bell, and Seth Hayes. And we were able to build 3 new $88 million schools, and the list goes on and on, what we were able to accomplish. And at the same time, we raised revolutionary awareness of our people to let them know that even though we are engaged in the electoral arena, it is not a panacea. We cannot vote our way to freedom, but certainly we can deliver some goods and services and get access to some power to make important, critical life quality decisions for our people. And we've done that for 21 years. We beat the most powerful machine in the democratic world in America, and that is the Kings County Democratic Organization of Brooklyn. They have money behind them with the real estate industry, Wall Street, lawyers, incumbents, you name it, unions and clergy. So we were able to be successful of that for 21 years.
Yeah, if I could just add to that, yeah, I mean, I think that the example that Brother Barron is sharing is that it's not just enough in terms of having, the right people in office, but you really need to also have, the grassroots community behind you and helping people understand that they do have power. Because I think too often we run into a situation that people, they say, well, once, they have elected you, that, you're supposed to do everything. And that's just not realistic and how it actually works. I mean, the real power is in terms of grounding it within the community and helping the community understand that they are really the power behind those folks who are in office.
Now, I would like you to, because it's very important what you said, Dr. Deborah Jackson. I think that, oftentimes, we hear folks, particularly, Black people, Black folks, Africans, they talk about voting. And you just brought up a very important point, because I think that, some folks are under the illusion that it's about who they vote into office, and that's going to make or break the situation. Can you speak to that? Because I think that, I think it's necessary for people to know that there are still action steps beyond just saying, okay, I cast the ballot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that, that the real work begins after election day. So if you're successful and, you have a good, strong candidate, that is really committed to the community, that you really need the ongoing community support and involvement, be it participation in, community or county level. They have all of these boards and commissions that really play an important role in terms of helping to shape, what the policy and program should be of the city, or even on, whatever level of government it is. It's one of the things that I found since being here in Georgia, and that everything is very county centric, except for some of the big cities like Atlanta and Savannah and so on. But other than outside of that, like my city of Lithonia, we're a small community of about 2,000 people, which you think it would be easy to organize, because it's really just like a neighborhood in New York. But it's much more challenging, because I've found that in many instances people are just very, I think people don't appreciate the power that they have, as citizens. We give away our power to elected officials and say things like, oh, we hope they do the right thing, or we hope they do a good job. I've said to them, that's not really a sufficient strategy. We do hope that they do that, but we got to be organized to work behind them, and as well as holding them and ourselves accountable to make things happen, because it doesn't happen just by wishing it.
Indeed. Folks who are just tuning in again, you're checking out AFROPIQ Radio, the home of sucker-free politics, culture, news, and social commentary. We're broadcasting right here live on the Black Power Media Network. I want to get to the hot topic. Of course, the Supreme Court's April 29, 2026 ruling in Louisiana versus Calais represents a tectonic shift in election law. While it addresses a single state's map, the 6-3 decision fundamentally redefines the Voting Rights Act of 1965. I want to ask the two of you, what does this decision mean to Black people? In layman's terms.
Go ahead, my sister. I'll yield to your experts. I'll come after you.
Yeah. So what it basically means is that they continue to change the rules of the game. The leadership has never really been committed to true equality, particularly as relates to voting. I mean, you said the fact that we had to have a Voting Rights Act of 1965 and have it continually be renewed shows that it's been an ongoing fight. And so while the language of the Voting Rights Act has not changed, but the effect of the decision is to, in fact, dismantle the gains that we've been able to make. So it's immediately after the decision was rendered on Wednesday, we saw that in Louisiana, even though an election was already underway, that they put a pause and they're looking to redraw the voting districts. I heard this morning that there's something similar going on. Well, Florida passed a new map. So they're not wasting any time, and they're using this as an opportunity to roll back the gains that we've made. So even though it was a Louisiana case, it does have national implications. And so what it means is that we are going to have to redouble our efforts to continue to press and insist, on our right to vote and actually exercise it.
I perfectly understand why our people don't vote. I encourage them to vote, but I understand it. Because the bottom line is that in this decision here, it's the continuation of the gutting of Section 2 of the Constitution and the Voting Rights Act. Remember, we had the first fight for them to have pre-clearance, that they couldn't change any mapping until it was pre-cleared. Well, that was attacked. And then we said that race can be used as a factor when it comes to discriminating and you drawing your lines. In Louisiana, remember they first drew that district where they took away all of our stuff except for one black district. And then they came back and said, no, that's not right. They fought against that, the people did, and won. And now they redrew it and had 2 black districts. And now they're fighting against that. But just to go back a ways, remember when we came out of slavery 4 million strong, and they automatically said, now, how are they going to participate when if they start voting, we're in trouble? That's how they came up with the Electoral College in the first place, because we were 3/5 of human beings and not counted in the census as a whole person. So they put the Electoral College in place. By the way, you never voted for president in your life unless you are an elector. Out of the 240 million registered voters in the last election, and of the 160 million that actually came out to vote, 80 million people stayed home in this last presidential election. Only 538 people can vote directly for president. And that is the Electoral College and what they do in December. So in fact, you're voting for electors in your state, winner take all, and you don't even know who they are and how they got there. So as far as black people were concerned, they said, all right, they look like they're going to get this right to register. Fannie Lou Hamer, all of them fought, and they said, okay, we'll put in place some test. We'll have the test, so literacy test. That's the way we'll stop them. We'll have dual registration. You have to register in your local community and in your county, and black people didn't have the transportation to get to the county. That's how we stop them. And then when they realized that even that was going to be difficult to stop, if they have this 65 Voting Rights Act and get rid of that stuff, well, we will not allow them to draw any lines, gerrymandering, that will give them a majority district. So even though they can vote, they won't be able to put anybody in because we're going to carve up their community so they have no majority. Here in New York, in Harlem, Adam Clayton Powell in 1941 became a city council member, the first black city council member. He redrew the lines because 1/3 of Harlem, the black community, was in a third of the Harlem community was in 3 different white majority communities. Adam redrew the lines to take them out of there and make 1 black district in Harlem, 80-90% black. And that's how he became the congressman. So this now is going to impact this in a way that maybe 10 years, if it stays like it is, half of the black representatives in the Congressional Black Caucus will be gone. And then after that, even more. Now, I must say this right away. Some of them need to go, but not like this. We need to have it done in a way where the people decide they need to go, not some racist process. So that's the importance of this now, is that as we say in our struggle for radical revolutionary change, we cannot leave any arena of our oppressor uncontested for power.
Right on. So, to that point, you spent decades organizing in black and brown communities. How do you see the whole in-person documentation requirement affecting the average resident in East New York or similar communities across the country?
Oh, that's going to have a profound negative effect when you got to show some ID to register. A lot of people, matter of fact, when I first came into office, one of the first workshops I did was how to get ID. And I had all my people coming in and how to get ID. That's one thing. And then to say that, you got to jump through all these hoops just to get registered. So what's going to happen is that people are going to be disenfranchised, even more so now, because they already ain't crazy about this. Americans don't vote, not even white Americans. In most elections, in the presidential race, you'll see 60 some odd percent. That's when you're doing good. In the primaries in our communities, you're talking 20 and 30%. So most people stay home anyway. So any barriers that you make to not allow them to vote is going to make it even worse. So that's why we're saying that in this era, what they're trying to do is diminish the black vote. And the reason why the Republicans are very much concerned about diminishing the white vote, because most people don't realize the last time a Democratic president won the majority of the white vote was in 1964 with Lyndon Baines Johnson. After that, Carter, Clinton, Obama, Biden all lost the white vote. The highest was Carter at 48%. They lost the white vote, but the only way they were able to win is because they got 80 and 90% of the black vote. So what this court decision is saying, some of these racist crackers on the Supreme Court are saying, hey, y'all are equal now. You have parity. Look at 2008 and 2012. Barack Obama got all y'all to come out to vote. So y'all don't need this anymore. But the election right after that, we went back to business as usual. So it is important for us, as we say, use every arena to its max, and so that we can make sure that we are battling on all fronts.
Thank you for that, Brother Charles. Sister Deborah, as part of the National Coalition of Black Lawyers, you, I believe it was Gene Murray and Attorney Jennifer Jones, you all put together an amicus brief. Can you explain it and, just give us a little breakdown of what it was about and the purpose?
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, an amicus brief is what's known as a friend of the court brief. And so we were not actual parties to the litigation between on the case regarding the state of Louisiana and Calais. And so we were raising the arguments in terms of asking the court to remember the purpose, one, of the Voting Rights Act, that it was to enshrine and ensure the rights primarily of Black Americans, but it was not limited to Black Americans because it was since expanded, and it really included, the rights of all people of color to be able to exercise the franchise. And so, because what we've been witnessing really since the 2013, when they decided the Shelby versus Holder case, which removed the pre-clearance requirement of Section 5 that our brother Barron was talking about earlier, that's when we saw a rush for all of these voter IDs and other techniques of voter suppression being implemented that basically gave them the green light for that. And so we were really urging the court to be true to the history of the struggle to achieve voting rights in this country, because this whole notion that you can't use race to challenge racism is really, absurd on its face. But because that was what the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment was addressing, the issue of the failure to recognize the humanity of Black people as citizens, as humans, with all of the basic rights of others in this country. And so race is specifically imbued in it. But what we've seen, for the last 50 or so years is that this effort to kind of take apart and rewrite the history, and Clarence Thomas is sort of has been serving as the front face of that this country has always been colorblind, and so, which is one of the biggest lies, on its face. While they talk about originalism, the original fact is that Black people were not recognized as being humans. The whole 3/5 clause that's written into the Constitution, demonstrates that.
Yeah, we've seen Clarence Thomas's wife, so I don't know if he's colorblind or just blind altogether. But that's just me. The NCBL Amicus brief, it emphasizes the danger of moving from a discriminatory effects to an intentional discrimination test. Can you explain why requiring proof of intent effectively provides a legal shield for states that draw maps that clearly dilute Black voting power?
Yeah, it's almost impossible to prove intent. I mean, unless you find an email, a tweet, or text, or something where they say specifically, it is our intention that we don't want Black folks to vote.
Right.
And as opposed to showing accumulation of based on everything that's happening, that is actually the effect. I mean, we saw the same thing happen in the employment arena, where previously, all you had to show was a pattern and practice to establish discrimination. And then when they switched it to, proving intent to discriminate, it made it much more difficult to win those cases in the employment arena. And so now we're seeing that happen in the voting arena. And that was the reason why the Voting Rights Act was amended in 1982 to remove, because some of the courts were, a little confused about whether or not you had to show intent or not. And it was, the legislation said that intent was not necessary. And so the court has gone against its own statements, but I mean, we shouldn't be completely surprised, is that you had to follow the letter of the law. And so Congress wrote that in the law that you didn't have to show intent. And now the Supreme Court has inserted its own interpretation as being the requirement that you do have to have intent.
So you mentioned the whole thing around colorblind, and we know that NCBL has long argued that the 14th and 15th Amendments are not colorblind, but were specifically ratified to protect the political rights of formerly enslaved people. How did the Amicus brief address the court's current trend of using the Equal Protection Clause against the creation of majority Black districts?
Yeah, well, in our brief, we basically have provided a history sort of tracing how what was happening in terms of the actual enactment of those amendments, and what the requirement was, that it was clearly addressing the rights of Black people. I mean, so clearly, there's a race component to that. And, so we find ourselves in this kind of twisting ourselves in a knot, trying to argue that the 14th Amendment is not about race, when historically, without any doubt, that is, what it was about. And so this emergence of the colorblind concept, and it really, that has morphed into reverse discrimination. So now the amendment that was enacted to protect Black people is now being weaponized against us to protect white people.
Right on. You're checking out AFROPIQ Radio, again, the home of sucker-free politics, culture, news, and social commentary, broadcasting right here on Black Power Media. We're going to go to a quick break. We have our guest today, Charles Barron and Dr. Deborah Jackson. Stay tuned. Again, AFROPIQ, Black Power Media. We'll be right back.
Come on, somebody, tell me. Tell me who's the bad. Come on, step up, who's the bad man? Is it the thug of the pimp of the player? Who's the bad? Maybe the rhyme sayer? Who's the bad man? Is Is it the love of the whip with the razor? Athlete, entertainer. The bad man. Is it Bush? Is it Trump? Is it Bob? The Marines or the mob? Is it you? You may not have a clue, but you must prove. First, he got treats for you.
Hey yo, grand man, here I stand like an hand killer. Murder, word of pimpin', gliding on the track.
Illa van, sicker van, slick a nigga, kick the can. Cannons blinking, cannons blam, know the man.
Hey yo, he's a man, never ran. No one from the biggest clan, but it's two, is a clue. Flavor tasting chocolate blue.
Blue is fine, blue is true. Truly similar to glue. Stick to her, sticky clues. Flavor rich as color.
Soothe your body like the stroke of my touch. Some shit caramel, my G-funk is too much.
Much to touch, smother over rhythms and such. Groovy cinnamon swirls, funky mo, put a rush
to touch me where we dangerous. Therefore I aim and bust until your state to dust.
So what do you make of us? Maybe too strange to trust, maybe too school to fool, maybe so cool you do lips and drool. Is it the thug of the pimp of the player? Maybe the rhyme sayer? Is it the love of the whip with the razor? Athlete, entertainer. Is it Bush? Is it Trump? Is it Bob? The Marines or the mob? Is it you? You may not have a clue, but you must prove. But she got treats for you.
Yo, laid back, cool and relax. We fought in flavors while we murder the track. And when I transform, I give them schisms and rhythms so freaky deaky. So them see me when I'm flowing so freely,
so easy. So see me freely flowing. I know in the next move, the skills inviting nothing like a perplex groove. Hershey loose, yeah. The lines I produce is quite addictive since the minute that you duck goose.
Who can make the sunshine turn to candy rain? Chocolate covered boulders bashing on your brain. Elite illustrations jumping off the page. Vision going bonkers, leave you in a daze. Someone should have told ya that our flow is colder than these frozen soldiers stuck inside their ways. Flavormatic, so dramatic.
Visionary commentary.
Spasmatic,
colors vary.
Acrobatic,
luminaries. Is it the thug of the pimp of the player? Maybe the rhyme sayer? Is it the love of the whip with the razor? Athlete, entertainer. Is it Bush? Is it Trump? Is it Bob? The Marines or the mob? Is it you? You may not have a clue, but you must prove. First, she got treats for you.
This is AFROPIQ Radio. Again, the home of sucker-free politics, culture, news, and social commentary. I'm your host, your soul brother number one, Kalonji Changa. We're here today talking about the Voter Registration Act. We have our guests, Charles Barron and Dr. Deborah Jackson, two prominent forces in politics here in the U.S., talking about, this whole voter rights conundrum. Before we hop back on that, I want to remind folks that you are again tuned into Black Power Media, which is a viewer or listener funded, in this case, platform. And we don't answer the corporate advertisers, we answer to you. And if you find this content valuable, please show your support by heading over to blackpowermedia.org/donate. That's blackpowermedia.org/donate, or join our community at patreon.com/blackpowermedia reloaded. Patreon.com/blackpowermedia reloaded. Okay, man, a lot going on. And shout out to the artists. Of course, you notice we have a lot of independent artists that we rock with, so we want to make sure that we continue to highlight their work as we go in. The culture workers are definitely important. Brother Charles, I'm thinking about this whole Save America Act, and it effectively ends the ability of organizations to conduct voter registration drives at parks, churches, and rallies. From a strategic standpoint, is this an attempt to dismantle the social infrastructure that independent movements have built over the years? I know that both you and Sister Mama Inez have been using that grassroots tactics, being out in the community, as well as our Sister Deborah Jackson, using those particular tactics. I mean, do you feel that this is a way to, put a stop to it altogether?
Well, that's what their attempt is. We're living in the age of the birth pains of a new world order, the birth pains of a dying colonialistic, imperialistic empire. And not only is it dying internationally, it's imploding in its two parties. They're in conflict. Hakeem Jeffries is an embarrassment, an a national embarrassment, hasn't shown strong leadership there. And then Donald Trump is at odds with Marjorie Greene, whatever her name is. So they're imploding. The duopoly parties are imploding. And this is why it's important for us to say, no matter what they try to do, these are desperate attempts to revive a dying colonial capitalist system domestically and a dying American empire internationally. So what we decided to do, we ain't even registering people. They said, oh man, you got to register people. That's the only way you can win. Well, we didn't want to register people for the Democratic Party. What we did was say that in my beloved East New York, there are 60,000 registered voters. 95% of them are black and brown, and only 10-15% of them come out to vote. So we already have enough on the files to do the kind of organizing to do what we did. That's how we beat the machine. We brought out about 5,000 or 6,000 more voters than usual. We didn't register new voters, and I'm not telling y'all not to register. All of those are into that. Go ahead. But we're not into registering anybody for the Democratic Party. We are an independent structure that's using the Democratic primary to make sure that we beat them in their own game in our district, because when you get to the general election, our people blindly vote Democratic. They don't even look at the name. They go down the list with the party. So as a tactic, as a strategy, we say run in Democratic primaries, maintain a separate individual independent structure that could raise money, that can get you on the ballot, that can get out the vote, all the things that Dr. Jackson and I know how to do to win, and then maintain your independence once you get in and make sure you could deliver. So I'm saying at this stage in our struggle that electoral politics is one strategy. There are other things we have to do outside of the electoral arena. It has its limitations. We are $1 trillion consumer nation. Let's get the money together and build alternative economic institutions. We have millions of voters. Let's vote for Black radical revolutionaries on a local level, because this bill is dealing with the congressional seats. Even in Louisiana, the election that they canceled was the congressional election. The local elections are still happening. So we say to our people, use this arena for your liberation, along with demonstrations, along with independent institutions, along with all the other things we have to do outside of the electoral arena. Bobby Seale ran for mayor. Elaine Brown ran for council in Oakland. Fidel Castro ran for state representative, and Batista canceled the election the same way the Louisiana governor is canceling elections. None of that is going to stop the liberation of our people. Our time has come, and it is this time that we have to rise up and claim our place on this earth and say that we will be free. And when we're free, colonialism falls because they depend upon our oppression.
Right on, right on. And that sounds like like you running for office again, Brother Charles. That sounds like
no, sir. I'm running for my life. I'm running for freedom.
hey, Sister Deborah. When he said he running for his life and running for freedom, I believe him, because I saw him at a store here in Georgia. He tried to act like he wasn't there. I was like, damn, I thought it was Brother Charles.
But that clearly is the reality. I mean, that I think that too often, we kind of, get it twisted a little bit in thinking that, voting is going to help bring about our liberation. And it is, clearly not. It is just one of the tools, as Brother Barron has said, that we need to utilize to get what benefits we can squeeze out of that system, because it was never designed for our interest and protection, but we can utilize it to make some gains. But helping the community organize, as well as helping to raise the consciousness so that people can be in a position to envision a different future. Because we're not talking about, when we talk about these elections, we're not looking to go back to what we had before Trump came in office, because Trump is really just an aberration of of representing what's wrong with the system as it exists. I mean, the system as it exists allowed for that to happen. So there was a lot of euphoria when, President Obama was elected, and many people thought that, that marked the beginning of change. And so, there was some hope that maybe there might be some differences. And, he was able to accomplish a few things. But just in terms of the whole party structure, even when we had the presidency, the Democrats had the majority of the House, as well as the majority of the Senate, he had a hard time getting any policies through that were really beneficial to people. So, so we need to be cognizant of the limitations of the existing system and the need to have something that's much more radical.
That's right. Well, that's an excellent point, Dr. Jackson, because even with Obama, people talk about deportation, and this racist redneck cracker Holman who's deporting people for Trump, he was Obama's deportee. He helped Obama deport 2.5 million people. It was Obama who, along with NATO and Hillary Clinton, murdered a progressive African president, Muammar Gaddafi. It was under Clinton that they had RIGO, Reinvent Government, was the same thing as Doge under Trump, where they've got rid of 300,000 Black women workers. Well, RIGO, with the leadership of Al Gore, got rid of 311,000 jobs because they wanted to shrink government because they were conservatives. So there are some differences, but the differences are so minimal now that it's hard to tell the two parties apart. We call them Republicrats. And we had a program recently with Amali Yesutela, and the title was, "It's not just Trump, it's the whole damn system."
Right. Right on. And it's important because I think that, our people, I remember Dr. King said that our people had an 8-day memory. I think that now it's probably an 8-minute memory with social media and everything. I mean, I think that folks forget about, and let's talk about that, why there was even a Voter Rights Act in the first place. Because I think that, people look at this as some benevolent white folks, or the fact that during that particular time, it was 5-6 Democrats in the Supreme Court. But let's talk about why did that act come about anyway, Dr. Barron? I mean, Brother Barron. I'm calling you Dr. Barron. I think you are a doctor of some sort, but go ahead, brother.
Well, you had to come in with the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. Isn't it interesting? They claim they grant you citizenship with the 14th Amendment, but then you got to have a Civil Rights Act. They claim that they granted Black men the right to vote with the 15th Amendment, because, at a time, only white men with property could vote. So now the 15th Amendment said, all right, Black men can vote and white men with no property can vote. And all at the same time, they're women. They didn't even allow their women to vote to the suffrage movement, 1920, 1921? So this system has been a patriarchal, male-dominated, racist cracker system that has always eliminated the rights of anyone that wasn't in the oligarchy. So for us to fight for those rights to vote is important, but it's more important for you to fight for your right to be treated as a human being. As Malcolm said, human rights over civil rights. And as we talk about liberation over integration. So we have to fight for those kinds of things, that anything that infringes upon our right as human beings to move about peacefully in our neighborhoods without ICE harassing us, to move about and buy whatever property we want to buy, live wherever we want to live, how we want to live. And we are 51.2 million people strong in the belly of this beast. 51 million. It is time for us to realize that we need to turn to ourselves and not on ourselves and say, listen, we will be free. We are going to get power politically, economically, socially, spiritually, culturally. We have to fight for power because power is the great equalizer.
Check it out. AfroPIQ. This is AfroPIQ Radio again. And I got to keep reminding y'all that we are the home of sucker-free politics, culture, news, and social commentary. This is your brother, your soul brother number one, Kalonji Changa. And again, I'm live with Charles Barron and Sister Deborah Jackson. Sister Deborah, the preacher used to say it's getting late in the evening. Okay. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, I think that we have to continue continue our struggle. I mean, I think this decision basically demonstrates that it is not time to rest and say, woe is me, that we have to gear up and continue the work that we've been doing, but in fact, expand it, that we have to be more intentional about educating and working with our people to help them see that there is a better way in terms of other than, what we have currently been subjecting to. So we just can't use our old tactics. We have to be much more creative in terms of how we do outreach with people, and particularly with our young people, because it means, I guess that, Brother Barron and I did, many years ago, that's all outdated. So we still would need to do some of that as relates to our elders. But in terms of, being more creative in terms of, how do we reach our young people and get them to be, an active part? And they are doing some things, but, so that there's just more working together and rather than, being in different silos so that we could be more cohesive in terms of our ultimate outcomes.
Right on. Brother Charles, close us out. You had, it was like the coup de grace a few minutes ago, but I think they need one more grenade. I think you might have missed a couple people, Brother Charles.
Well, here's another one. We got to fight the colonial capitalist propaganda machine. And Brother Kalonji, no one does it better than you. And I think AfroPIQ and the Black Power media, we have to get to the minds of our people. I think Steve Biko said it best, the South African freedom fighter. The most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. So we have to make sure we get information to our people if they're going to engage in actions that are revolutionary and radical. Because information isn't power. The applied use of the information you receive is where the power is. So I think programs like this, raising the political consciousness and awareness of our people, is essential. I was watching the other day the Battle of Algiers, the great revolutionary film of the Battle of Algiers in the 1960s. We had to study that as Black Panthers. But the first thing they did was they went after the minds of their people. Propaganda. We are losing the propaganda war. This is where we have to raise consciousness, so when we engage in a certain kind of action, our people will be down with it, as opposed to just rebelling against their conditions out of anger, and then they go back to business as usual as people mobilize them around issues. And you get these sellout Negro leaders that wait for somebody to die and call for some big demonstration or for some legislation in Congress. George Floyd legislation never gets passed. And they are pimping our movement and becoming famous and rich and popular, but the conditions don't change. So now is the time for those of us who are not, as Dr. Lonnie Guinier said, some of us are descriptively Black, they look like us, and others are authentically Black. They are committed to us. It's time for us to get rid of the misleadership class, as Glenn Ford always said, and deal with people who are authentically Black and organized from the bottom up. And I firmly believe that the city council seats, the state assembly seats, and local communities is where a lot of power is. And we have transformed the infrastructure of our community in East New York and raised revolutionary consciousness for a continued struggle against the system. Struggle may be long, but our victory is certain.
Amen.
Okay.
That's it. Excuse me, man. I had to clear my throat like a rapper. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause I just got I got so caught up in the Right Reverend Dr. Charles. I almost forgot where I was at. I was about to pass the collection plate. But anyway, I want to thank Brother Charles and Sister Deborah, both of you, for coming on, joining us on this inaugural edition of AFROPIC. Definitely appreciate the work that you all have been doing and that you continue to do. As you all mentioned, of course, the fight is far from over. It's far from done. To the audience, make sure you like, subscribe, share. Make sure you remember that you should hit the notification button, because you never know when you'll have folks like these coming on board to talk about what's really going on. You know, we don't need mercenary media to tell our story. You know what I mean? We understand that even some of these quote unquote black media outlets, they're black in color. You understand what I'm saying? But when it comes to black facts, they don't know that. You're checking out AFROPIQ Radio, the home of sucker-free politics, culture, news, and social commentary, right here on Black Power Media. Make sure you subscribe to our platform again on YouTube, but also make sure you join our email list at blackpowermedia.org. I'm your soul brother number one, Kalandi Changa, and this has been a wrap. Appreciate you all. We'll see you soon. Brother Charles, Dr. Deborah Jackson, gratitude again.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Power to the people.
All power to the people. Absolutely. We out, y'all.
Peace. This is Brother Tunisia Sanu, a.k.a. DJ Fourth World, calling live and direct from Atlanta, Georgia. Black is beautiful. Black is powerful.
Peace and respect. This is John Robinson calling from New Jersey. Black is beautiful. Black is powerful.
Hi, this is Trina Tesseret, calling from Israel. Black power and black is beautiful.
FTP, black is beautiful. Black is powerful.
This is Rashida Ali of the Black Diamond Suite, and yes, black is beautiful.
Yo, peace and love. This is Issa Star, a.k.a. Jupiter Girl, Cat City all day.
Like Godzilla, understand, black is beautiful, black is powerful.
This is Uno the Prophet, calling from Bosstown.
Red, black, and green forever. It's your boy, Uncle Paradise, from the world-famous X-Clan, Black Watch Movement, Universal Zulu Nation, Supreme Black Love.
This is Brother Khalil Shabazz. Black is beautiful, black is powerful, you always know it is.
This is Siddiqui Bakari from Los Angeles.
My Silvani crew, respect due. Ask over the farmer passing through. I want to tell you that blackness is active. Blackness is way beyond a color. Blackness is a practice.
This is Sister Ajoke Olanite Cool, giving you a call from Houston, Texas.
Soul Wallace, showing mad respect for the warriors that protect and strengthen us as a people.
FTP, black is beautiful, black is powerful. Bruce George, co-founder of Def Poetry.
Yo, what's up? This is DT, one half of the crew Clan Destin. Giving much love and a big shout to the whole FTP movement.
Peace, fam. This is Sheree, Lens of Life Photography. Only thing I have to say is black is beautiful. Black is powerful. Yeah, what up? This is Pootie the Biz, calling from the ATL, repping that B-More and Hempstead, baby. And I just want to let you know that black is beautiful, black is powerful. Yeah.
What's going on, y'all? This is the mighty J. Mitchell, Melodious Fly, calling my man Kalanji, calling from Los Angeles, California. Yeah, black is beautiful and black is powerful. Yes, indeed.
Peace, what's going on? This is Hassan Salam, and I want y'all to always remember, black is beautiful, black is powerful. Stay strong, be wise, walk on water always.
Hey man, Big Wreck, FTP. Black is beautiful, black is powerful.
Peace. It's the comrade Saeed Malik. Black is beautiful, black is power. Saluted all the way with it, man. FTP saluted, man.
Black is beautiful, that it is. But I'm not only talking about the outside. What I am talking about is the spirit, the resilience, the unseen works of beauty and love that was, is manifested by our ancestors, and now must be manifested by us. Honor, respect. Karen Marie Mason, Red Clay Music Group.
Yo, what's good, people? It's your man Fort Knox, live and direct. Black is beautiful. Black is powerful.
Peace, this is Aja Africa. To all the kings and queens out there, your black is beautiful. Your black is powerful. Peace.
Salute, Goldie Gold, repping J45, Nucharu, and ATL. If you ain't know it, black is beautiful and most definitely powerful. Know what I mean?
I'm Ebony Joy. Just want to say black is beautiful and black is powerful. Wholly and absolutely. Peace.
Ekendayo says, FTP, black is beautiful, black is powerful. Fire.